Nathan Drake, that two-bit thief. Risking it all for some piece of treasure. I guess that's how they know me. How they'll remember me. But that's not who I am.
Hi guys and girls and treasure seekers to a look at the forthcoming and final Uncharted game. With anticipation levels high and the excitement real and growing after the recently released story trailer, I'm going to look in how impressive it was and just what we can all look forward to enjoying come April.
It's a lot to take in, kid. Where do I even start?
Well, the beginning is as good a place as any. As we now approach the final straight, I wanted to cover the main aspects of what we know of the game on how it looks to expand, improve and entertain in equal measure, along with the obligatory impress throughout its campaign. Or spoiler free so long as you have seen most of the media released thus far of the game, which is much better than Uncharted 3, which had its heart on its sleeve far too much prior to release. Also, just to help the height levels and emotion, I've added a short trailer I have created with the help of the talent of Henry Jackman to set the mood, so hopefully you will stick around at the end to watch that. With this being the fourth entry in the franchise, it brings up many firsts for the team and series. Naughty Dog's first new game in nearly 3 years after its colossal The Last of Us in 2013. The first Uncharted game no longer led by its main creative director Amy Hennig, busy on the new EA Star Wars Uncharted type game, but both Bruce Straley, artist on Drake's Fortune, and Neil Druckmann, game designer on Drake's Fortune, are all still on board and now lead development as per The Last of Us. Along with it being the first ground-up PS4 game for both the engine and team, so as always, expectations are high, but the talented and committed crew look to have delivered and exceeded those lofty aspirations once again, judging by what we have seen thus far. With a return to the series' intended grandiloquent set pieces mixed with the more intimate moments witnessed in The Last of Us, aims to put even more personality and character into the plot and action, with it always keeping as much on the sticks as possible without seizing control from the player, allowing us to only become even more involved with its expansive cast and tale. Along with Nate himself, all the fan favourites return with some new faces in Sam, Nate's long lost and thought dead brother, Victor Sullivan, Drake's partner in crime, Elena Fisher, his equal and now possibly to be estranged or maybe even widowed wife, but the bad guys are not forgotten, with Rafe Adler, the rich and powerful mercenary, and a history with the brothers backed up by an even more imposing adversary in Nadine Ross, South African leader of the Shoreline Mercenary Army. This may be the boys and girls' last ride, but it looks to be their toughest yet. Gameplay has taken a big shift along with the visuals, which I will get on in a moment, as it now looks to expand on the choice we saw in the last game. Far more verticality has been added, with lead game designer Emilia Schatz and team working to expand the size, scope and choice of each area as we saw in the PSX demo. Conflict can now be avoided, line of sight lost, and AI as a whole looks to have improved dramatically. With some of these now processed on the GPU, we can expect the complexity and dynamic flow of these encounters to be greatly enhanced over previous games, and this is a bigger leap forward as the graphics. Now, with the use of asynchronous computation made possible by the unified memory structure and GPU command processor alterations in the PS4, it is a great example of the benefits a closed system can produce. With AI not an unknown quantity for GPU work but far from common, it is again a showcase of the team's pioneering style, as they always aim to maximise what they have, and yet always seem to improve that with each new title. This is something I look forward to enjoying and covering in more detail near a launch, along with the engine's use of fibres to maximise the 7 cores of the CPU as best they can, which you can learn more about in my Technobabble article from last year. Naughty Dog have again delved deep into the hardware to an impressive degree, as the engine now has a much larger footprint to work in. We can see that this is not only the visuals, but game design and freedom are all benefiting from the extra power afforded within the PS4. But what about those damn visuals? Water, as expected, plays a big part in the new game as Nathan searches across the globe for the largest pirate treasure in history, fighting mercenaries, mudslides, waterfalls and now sunken shipwrecks, with a possible lost underwater city another probable stop-off. Sounds great, Nate? It also shows off the incredible leap up in animation as Drake swims across the sunken vessel, joined with some chromatic aberration to fringe the edges of the scene, all working well to give a clear underwater tone without heavy obscurance from overloading the shot with post-processing. It, along with the long beach shot, really highlights the bright colour tone the game delivers here. Death-defying waterfalls complete with focal adjusted depth of field transparency, alpha blending water with rainbows as it most likely blends and pulls back into gameplay from this shot really signifies the leap we have taken this generation, and one of the main features I harp on about with these seamless shifts into and out of gameplay and story sections means we never lose the engagement with the character, we carry over real-time game choices or have the large visual shift from in-game and pre-renders we have had prior. It is a trend and feature I really truly appreciate. Now this is not to say that the cutscenes do not change or offer a larger scope for developers, as they do, and we can clearly see the strides that have been taken here even from the PS4 release and pre-renders of The Last of Us or previous Uncharted games. But yet again, one of the biggest shifts is the animation, meshes and bone rig systems that they've got set up here in this game, which I've covered in detail in previous Uncharted analysis videos, which you can check out the links in the video link below and on screen at the moment. So I'm not going to go over that again. The animation again is a complete step up, and we are talking Disney level Pixar work here. The shot here is a perfect example as his skin deforms and folds around his neck as Nadine stands on his chest. The colour schemes and texture work prominent in all Naughty Dog titles has now been fully realised and implemented here, with the near concept art pastel colours gloriously demonstrated in these two shots alone. And the shift from the darker look the early PSX demo had, which we saw change from the E3 demo and the closed beta from last year. This contrast can be seen well here with a look at the PSX demo aside the new trailer. You can see the changes to the lush green leaves is now much brighter as per the team's normal art direction, but as I covered at the time, the lack of any motion blur from the demo now masks some of the detail with per object and radial camera blur in use here, along with almost identical shadow map drawing range. You can also see the corrections made with the rope now held in his hand and let go to swing out behind him, in addition to motion blur. In fact, motion blur is something within the post-effects suite that has progressed throughout each of the games showing, with none in the PSX demo, then added in the E3 showings and further enhanced here to offer up far more coverage, more samples and reduce artifacting and background inclusion errors. Although not fully resolved, it now does look much better and is a welcome addition in both the 30Hz single player and as much 60Hz multiplayer, and even more so in the simply jaw-dropping cinematics. With the rather long and multiple showings of the game throughout its protracted development, it has given us a good view of just how things can and do change in all development processes, not just games. If we look at the scenes from less than a year ago at E3, we can see many alterations, artistic choices and changes that have happened that some may have missed or also mistakenly attributed to downgrades. Far too often, sadly. Taking the show we just looked at from the PSX demo, we saw the changes and additions that scene now has, but we can see clearer and more prominent ones within the new trailer. This shot here of Nathan shows the adjustment of the lighting in this scene, with the E3 shot having what is most likely a more incorrect lighting coming from inside and behind more. This has now been changed to have light coming from the open door outside and now in front of Nate, easily spotted by the shadow of Victor pushed further forward on the door. Showing off the improvements to hair here, reducing the bruise and also reducing the sweaty specular look with a warmer, healthier glow. This also shows how lighting can alter the look of a scene so much. Here Victor's watch has been changed from the previous showing, along with the persistent colour changes you can see on the red of his shirt and blue of Nate's top. The lines on Nate's forehead can no longer be seen as easy due to the improved subsurface scattering technique with the shaded work here. The contact shadow from his hairline has also changed, due to the newer point light source in front, which also now enables you to see the hair follicles connected to his temple that before were obscured by the self-shadow light source that was prior behind him. You can also see the improvement and increase of post effects here, softening the image overall. This also eloquently shows off the exemplary shader work in the game, with the subsurface scattering on his skin textures showing the diffused material along with the specular Fresnel calculation along his neck and hairline. You can see this from the light sources as they bounce off. Elena also shows off some bigger changes. Her entire face and body has been altered with more weight added to her and, dare I say it, more years. You can also see the lighting changes again here highlights her skin imperfections much easier. Hairline has been altered with more individual strands now visible from improved texture work, along with background changes of posters and pictures, and an extra doff effect around the edge of her. Hair improvements are clear in the new trailer throughout, as seen here with Sam's hair on the bike, now showing far more volume and clarity, with less dithering present. This scene also shows the previous faults, with order draw errors on the boat now fixed, showing the boat's hull on the water and the complete removal of any depth of field in this shot. That was present from the E3 demo, although I suspect that will most likely return. It allows us to realise more detail on the ground, background objects, along with screen space reflection improvements that the team have looked to nearly remove the occlusion issues present in previous showings and pretty much all uses of the effect. Again, the same dithering effect can be seen here as in other areas, and this is, like most sections I believe, is due to the reconstructed nature of many parts of the rendering pipeline. As we see in the shadows from previous showings, they present a clear sign of confidence improvements we have seen before in other games and Sony first party ones. As you can see here with the fight shot, as I slow it down, the shadow at first is heavily stippled, but with each passing frame, my educated guess at this point is around 6 to 8 previous frames per pixel information is used. More information is built up to improve the quality. Now this was something I noted in the original E3 demo, as the LOD system slowly builds more information into the scene after it starts, and we can see these same signs here. My guess is that they are using an MSAA reconstruction system to create a native 1080p output buffer from a quarter size start in various parts of the renderer. Now this is not that uncommon and has been used in many previous games already released, and I'm sure many more to come, with both Assassin's Creed games using something similar, as did Rainbow Six, Killzone Shadowfall, Until Dawn, so this is far from new. But the actual detail on this and how it all hangs together, we may learn more about at GDC this year, and I stress, this is just my thoughts on the signs I can see from the beta and release footage, but hopefully explains why some did not like the look it can give. But it does look like a moving feast here, with the team improving its quality with each passing new showing, and at no point does this mean we have a sub 1080 display, as the output on the geometry, which is what all pixel counting can only be based on, is and will still be a full buffer. This is only how the final output is created, but this is not the place to delve into that in any depth just yet. If we look back at the original 60 FPS tease, we have got a very similar looking scene to compare against, sadly not with Nathan himself but instead Rafe, and a very similar colour corrected moonlight scene. We can see the same texture detail, nuanced animation that is close. From the other areas throughout this trailer and showing, it is clear that the early promise has been achieved, and if, which I now doubt, this original scene makes it into the final game to compare, it is clear the level of detail and IQ is very close to that showing. Even if the final frame rate target was shifted to multiplayer only, I feel it was and is the correct choice to allow them the scope to impress so much in the game. The fact that the trailer has sequences that show clear gameplay shots like here and here, with others that are not so clear, but the fact it will almost be impossible to see the seams throughout excites me greatly, as I'm sure a good portion of you watching this. And with knowing that we're going to experience and play moments like this in the game, along with the impressive cinematography, lighting work and just construction of scene and acting that we've gotten used to with Naughty Dog, and yet again they're improving on here. I am incredibly eager to cover the game's extravagant presentation and sheer blockbuster status when I get my hands on with a spoiler-free review and analysis. You can check out many of my given examples here on our site with our image comparison gallery and tool that will show high quality images for comparison from my high quality feed here. As always, I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this. If you did, then please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps me immensely, and I appreciate each and every one of you that does. If you are in a forum talking about Uncharted or anything else that I've covered in my previous articles, then please feel free to share my videos and links here, as that helps me even more. Leave all your thoughts and feedback below. I'm sure you're all excited and many of you are looking forward to this game, so I'd like to hear what you have to say. And as always, take care. Which only leaves me to say my ticket is bought for this ride into the unknown, as we saddle up one last time with our much loved treasure seeker, as we find out what he has been up to, and if this really is the end of our favourite thief.
Yeah, can I help you?
Yeah, I'm, looking for my little brother. your height, a little bit leaner. Definitely less gray in the temples.
Sam?
It's good to see you again, Nathan. I'm in a lot of trouble here.